Hello everybody, this is Dr. Cole. It's Sunday afternoon, February 27th. Moving now into week 8 for Comparative Governments, Political Science 3143 for the spring 2022 term. Everybody, the midterm exam is coming up. The midterm is about a week from now, not quite a week, Friday and Saturday, March 4th and 5th. You're responsible for everything through Germany. Class notes for lectures 1 through 13, lectures 12 and 13 covering Germany, plus everything we've had for the 4 quizzes we have given you up to now. So that will be Friday and Saturday, March 4th and 5th. There will be a combination of multiple choice and true-false items, mostly true-false, mostly coming from the class notes for lectures 1 through 13, but also some items repeated from the 4 quizzes we have had. Okay, so that will be coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday, March 4th and 5th. Okay. Now we have Germany on the syllabus for this week. Because the midterm exam is coming up, we tried to get an early start. And this past Friday, we asked you to take a quiz on that article from Spiegel International, which I hope would give you some idea of what you would be reading about in the papers and seeing on TV if you were in Germany instead of the United States. The news media there will be full of some of these people that we in the United States know relatively little about unless we take some trouble to find out about it. So negotiating a coalition agreement really is not something we see in the United States because we have different rules of the game, but it will give you some idea of what goes on behind the scenes in a country with a system different than our own. So I hope that was eye-opening for you. Okay? All right, but if you have not looked at that yet, the last time I looked, one of you had taken the quiz, the other had not. You are responsible for that article. So if you have not taken a look at it by now, please do so before the midterm exam. Now let me say just a few words about Germany. Of course, an affluent country, very much like the United States in many respects. 80 million or so people, the most powerful, richest country in the European Union. As you look at the political arrangements that have been made, many of them were made after World War II with an eye toward avoiding the problems that came up in the Weimar Republic, which of course collapsed and resulted in a dictatorship on the part of the Nazis and Adolf Hitler. Of course, you might imagine people were very much eager to avoid any kind of a repeat of that. It is a federal system. There are 16 states, or Länder, as they call it in the German language. The country is called the Bundesrepublik Deutschland, or Federal Republic of Germany. Now, a couple of features of the political system of which we might make note. It was thought that the Weimar Constitution had given too much of an opportunity to splinter parties. Too many small parties got into the legislature under the Weimar Constitution. Adolf Hitler's party started out as a tiny splinter party, but then took off from there. So to prevent too many small parties from getting into the legislature, there's a threshold that must be met. You cannot get any representatives in parliament unless you win 5% of the vote. The Bundestag, as it is called, the lower chamber of the German legislature. And now the exception to that is if you win one of the seats that's chosen from the 299 districts, but most of those seats go to one of the 2 big parties, the Social Democrats or the Christian Democrats, so that's not really an issue. When you go to the ballot box on election day in Germany, it says you have 2 votes. There are at least 598 members to be chosen. Half of those are chosen district by district, like in the U.S. House of Representatives. There are 299 districts. You get to choose 1 local representative from your district where you reside. The other vote is cast for a party. And you need not cast the 2 votes for the same party. You can vote for an individual of 1 party for your district and another party with the second vote if you wish. Then the remaining members are allocated according to the proportion that the parties get. Now, that accounts for 598 members. The thing about it is, In the district by district vote, most of those seats go to the big parties, the Social Democrats or the Christian Democrats. But in the whole legislature, it's supposed to be proportionate, in proportion to the overall vote that each party got. So they end up having to give top-up seats to make it proportional. So at least 598 would be elected. But right now, the German legislature has got, I believe, 735 members. Some people think that's too big. But they had to do it that way in order to get it proportional to the vote that all 6 of the parties got on election day. Now, 6 parties are about as many as you can have in that system, given that you've got to get 5% to get into the legislature at all. And it's sort of ambiguous. You could say there are 7 parties because the conservative bloc is a partnership. They call it the Union, between the Christian Social Union in Bavaria and the Christian Democratic Party in the rest of the country. So you can look at that as 1 party or 2, depending on how you want to look at it. But treating them as the Union, there are a total of 6 parties represented right now. The Christian Democrats, Social Democrats, and the Free Democrats, and then there are the Greens, the Left Party, and the Alternative for Germany, the Trumpist Party, as it's sometimes described. Another feature of the German system is it's very difficult to bring down the government and force a snap election. Their rules of the game are that there has to be an election every 4 years, and that has very rarely, if ever, been interrupted, to the best of my knowledge. Because if you want to remove the current government, you have to nominate a new chancellor at the same time. They call that the constructive vote of no confidence. You can't just kick out the chancellor and force new elections. You have to nominate another chancellor at the same time. Now, if you looked at the election returns from a few months ago, September 2021, the Social Democrats barely edged out the Christian Democrats. They each got about a quarter of the vote. So the next 2 parties, the Free Democrats and the Greens, they could have made a coalition with either the Christian Democrats or the Social Democrats. The Social Democrats came out ahead, so that's who they chose as their coalition partner. But if they get fed up with the Social Democrats, then those 2 parties could step up in Parliament and say, we want to dissolve this government and go ahead and form a coalition with the conservatives, the Christian Democrats, so that the Christian Democrats leader at that point then would become the chancellor. But that wouldn't require a new election. There's not supposed to be another election until 2025. Their elections take place every 4 years. So those are some distinctive features of the German political system as it's taken form after World War II, when the Bundesrepublik Deutschland, or Federal Republic of Germany, was created. Those are some of the things you'll be reading about in the class notes for lectures 12 and 13, and in that article that we tried to quiz you on from Der Spiegel. If you have not looked at it already, please do so before the midterm exam. So, Germany on the syllabus for this week. Midterm exam Friday and Saturday, March 4th and 5th, and then after that we'll be getting to 8 more countries for the second half of the course, beginning with France next week. So, good luck on the exam. We'll be talking to you again a little bit about France a week from now at this time.